Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Gay Like Me Live. And you guys have been, since I started doing this live stuff and being on here and having my conversations, y'all always say, "Where's Miss Lawrence? Where's Miss Lawrence? I need to do something together." What's going on? And today, it is actually happening. I actually got was able to get Miss Lawrence again. We got our schedules together to be able to be here and have a amazing conversation with you guys and all that good stuff. So before we get started, like, share, do all that good stuff that you guys do in the YouTube world and Facebook. Let people know that we are online. Bring everybody into the room because this is going to be a great conversation. So without further ado, I will bring on the ever fabulous Miss Lawrence. Hey, sis.
Hey! You sitting over there all with cheering shit on, honey.
Well, child, I had to put a little something on. Girl, I've been on here and it was like, child, you don't look the person that we watched on Fashion Queens. I'm like, well, bitch, I've been at home in quarantine.
Nobody look like the person they normally look like, bitch, sitting at home, honey. It just is what it is, shit. We just make it do. Everybody make it do.
Well, first of all, thank you for making some time for me to come on here and have a discussion about who Miss Lawrence is.
Thank you for inviting me on here. I'm just proud of everybody, especially you and everybody just creating right now in this space that we in, because it's tough, and to be able to just create and build new platforms for ourselves, like yeah, you should be proud. I'm proud. You know what I mean?
So let's do some housekeeping first. So how do you identify yourself?
Wait. I think we may be break. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear. In terms of what pronouns?
Like who you are? Like that the he, she, they, them.
Oh, I don't get into that. It's I'm Miss Lawrence. It's him, she, they. I try not to get too caught up into the all the new nuances of the whole gender identity thing right now. Well, that's going on now. I mean, I am technically what they call gender non-conforming or a gender non-conformist. And I will use that term because if it helps mainstream and all of society better understand people like myself, people like yourself, I will use that if that's what it takes. But for me, I'm just who I am. I'm a spirit first.
There we go. Well, because I had Big Frida on last week, and I remember I had to introduce her, and I was like, "What am I supposed to say? Am I saying her, she, he? Like, what are you going by?" So we can know we can understand.
It don't matter. For me, it don't matter.
If you could wrap Miss Lawrence up in 3 words, what was those 3 words you'll use?
If I could wrap Miss Lawrence up in let's see, fearless, creative, and what's another? Why have I never thought about that before? I don't know. Fearless, creative, and I don't know. Love. Shit.
Well, those are 3 great words to be part of. Fearless, creative, and love. So I like to have these conversations because it's a person that is a young person or an older person that's trying to figure out who they are and how we all got to where we got to, and they think that they see 2 men pop up on TV wearing heels and women clothes, and they thought it was just an easy journey to get to that space, to be comfortable in that space. But nobody really knows our journeys or where we came from. So I like to have these conversations to give people a better insight of who we are and who they are,
Yeah.
So I would like to know from you, when did you know that something was different about you?
From my beginning as a child, like growing up here on the south side of Atlanta, I've always been very in tune with my feminine side. I've never tried to hide it. I had an interview earlier today, and the only time that I would somewhat mask it is when I used to like perform in church and be a part of like, you know, church and singing in choirs and stuff like that. But other than that, I never, I never, I never hid who I was. So I didn't realize that it was an issue about who I was. Not that I per se noticed anything different,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't consider myself different. I noticed that when society had an issue with who I was and how I presented, probably like when I was like in middle school, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And the typical things a lot of people deal with that are like me and people like you, and who are literally on the gray area of this, I don't know, uh, social, human spectrum. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Where you're
Mm-hmm.
not, you're not masculine performing. You're not a woman. You know, I don't really adhere to what society deems a man should look or act like. And
Mm-hmm.
so, growing up, I received a lot of, the typical stuff, backlash, a lot of I never really dealt with bullying because I just wasn't that. Like I didn't really take too much shit. But, definitely a lot of the slurs and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, side comments, side eyes, damaged relationships, challenges building relationships with people, because I chose to honor who I think I was put here to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you knew that you had more touch of your feminine side, but do you know the age around where you knew the name of what it was? Because we go through it and we like, I know I like boys, but then I supposed to like girls, but you don't really know the name of it. So when you figured out, it's like, oh, this is gay. Like, do you know how old you was when you came we understood what the term was?
Mm, I don't remember the age. I
Mm-hmm.
don't remember the exact age, but I know that I was very young
Okay.
and very aware. Like I definitely around, definitely at elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
middle school. I definitely had like my first crush, on a boy in middle school. But I can't say exactly what age that
Mm-hmm.
was, but yeah.
So knowing that you were in touch with your feminine side and that you weren't as masculine as your as men would want you to be, how did your family, your mother and father, deal with that with you growing up?
I've been very blessed. My parents, my family has never like ostracized me or necessarily put their like mouths on me in a derogatory sense. But there were definitely questions asked as it related to my gender expression and um, my the way I chose to dress and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And of course when they obviously knew that I was gay, there were definitely the typical questions that a lot of families ask. Did somebody bother you? Is this a
Mm-hmm.
phase? Is something going on? Is there anything we did? Is there anything we can do? And the answer to all of those for me personally was no. So I never had a coming out. I never had to go through a whole
Mm-hmm.
coming out. I didn't have that. I don't have that story. I have more of a meeting of the mind story and a
Mm-hmm.
understanding of and coming to terms with myself and fully accepting it, regardless of what society thought, regardless of what family might have thought, of friends or anything like that. It was totally about me and what I thought and what made me comfortable. And I chose to honor that. And so I've been able to, really, really move about this thing called life in a very,
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable but uncomfortable way.
What I can say that I've always admired about you that I wish I had more of myself is your unbotheredness. Like you are very unbothered by a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
you live your life to the fullest of who you are, and you
Yeah.
just never really be bothered by anything else. So is that something that you had to grow into, or is that how you always, you know,
Yeah. I think, and I implore actually that you always figure out what works for you, what speaks to you, and what satisfies your soul. And as long as it's right and it's not in vain and you're not harming anybody and everything is with pure intentions and love, and that is operating and existing as yourself, you can't control how anybody else feels. You can't control what anybody else, what they think, what they do in response to who you are. And I was blessed and fortunate to know that and have that wisdom at a very early age. And so I think that contributed to my very unbotheredness, as you say. Like, I don't really give a fuck what.
But because it's funny because when we were doing interviews again, I'm like, yes. I said, that you always try to pit me and Lawrence together. He was like, did they? I'm like, bitch, where the fuck you been, girl? Because I was good. I mean, people were always in my box trying to compare me to you. He was like, were they? Because I didn't pay no attention. I was like, well, I wish I had that.
I literally don't pay that type of stuff any attention. I swear to you, I don't. I don't.
No, I know. That's what
I don't pay it any attention. I could care less, because the minute you show some type of involvement or that you're piqued by it, it just continues. And so you then have the control over it. Once you recognize that that's what you have the control, you can either accept it and play into the shit and allow it to affect your relationships. As remember I said earlier, I had a lot of relationships affected by me just being me, And the minute you accept somebody trying to, be messy or want to be antithetical about who you are, the minute that you play into that or buy into it, it takes over you. So no, I love the fact that I can be unbothered by a lot of stuff. It keeps me out of a lot of shit and away from a lot of people.
So let's go through your high school years. So because you said you didn't really get bullied and stuff, so that really wasn't a problem. Did you go through an experience?
I had people to try to pick on me. I won't say that I didn't, but in terms of bullying someone, bullying like trying to cause danger or threats, and I didn't take lightly to any of that. So I didn't have like bullying. Of course, people will pick. People will say mean things and all that type of stuff. But as long as you knew not to try to, put your hands on me, I didn't mind. I've never mind putting up a fight, or even today, it definitely won't be no fighting type stuff. It's very called the law. It's very, bitch, I'm gonna take your freedom, girl type. You know what I'm saying? But I never dealt with that stuff. In high school, I was probably the gayest thing in high school. I was probably the gayest thing. I used to pump through them. I went to Tri-Cities High School. I would pump through them hallways. I wore hair. I wasn't wearing heels back there, obviously, but I had like cowgirl boots and shit. You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, those were the heels. But I would wear hair. I would wear like this curly hair because my hair was longer. So, and I would blend it in, bitch. I would blend it in with some gel and shit. And I would put on like little powder and stuff. Be a fool, honey. But in my mind, I was turning it. You know what I'm saying? So, but it also, it's funny. But it also at the same time, in my senior superlatives, I won most popular. I won most talented. I also won best dressed in high school. So it was an interesting time in high school. Yeah.
Now, did you ever feel like you wanted to try? But did you ever have a girlfriend and want to try being with women or anything during those high school years of figuring out what's going on?
In middle school, like 6th grade or something like that, and it wasn't. I had like me and like a couple of little girls. We would, but it was just like I was just trying to see like, let me see if this is my normal. You know what I'm saying? And it just wasn't. We just ended up being really good friends. They did nothing for me. They did nothing for me. I used to play in their hair and stuff, so that I think that contributed to me later becoming a hairstylist.
So when did you? So during your high school years, you were singing during high school, correct?
Yeah.
You were in the choir and everything. You were
chorus. I was in performing arts, the drama department, dance, all of it.
So you was doing everything stereotypically gay that gay people do in high school, honey. You was a creative in high school.
Yeah, I was rebellious too, though. Yeah, I was rebellious, but that was out of my own. That was kind of out of my. It was a defense mechanism, like because I had already fixed it in my mind that I already know y'all don't accept me. I already know y'all can't take me because, I'm walking up in here with some skin tight pants on with these boots and stuff. So I was very defiant. But I also, when I showed up, I showed out as well, though, when it came for time for, the school activities with as it relates to performing arts. Yeah.
Now, what your love for music, did that start in high school, or was that always something?
No, that
Okay.
started at home. My mom used to sing. She used to sing, and my mother is a singer. She used to sing in choirs. She sang around the house. She introduced me to music, not on purpose, just by her loving music, playing music, every weekend, while we clean up and have to do chores and all that kind of stuff. I think that's where my ear and my sound came from, my mom, and being in a house with someone who was in tune with music and new music. Yeah.
Now, because so I've learned, I didn't know that you traveled the world singing, and like I said, being in chorus and things of that nature. How did all of those experiences help build you as a person?
Um, I think it more so helped I don't know about me as a person, it definitely helped my skill set. You know, it helped me vocally, it helped me in terms of discipline. So, okay, so I think maybe with discipline, because I pride myself on having a lot of discipline, especially as it relates to my career when I was in the beauty industry and where I am now. And I think that came from my early teachings and training in music. Yeah.
Now it's time to do hair. So what brought you into the hair world?
Oh, so like I said, I always had an attraction for hair and beauty. I used to go to the salons with my mom and my sister when I was younger, and I noticed how powerful and impactful the transformation was for them when they went into the salon and when they came out. And I noticed what it did for them, as women that were already beautiful and looking even more beautiful when they came out. And when their hair and stuff would get like old and time to get redone, I would try to recreate it before they went to the salon to see if I could do it. And it just became a natural kind of innate thing that I developed. And once I stopped singing, for because I just didn't feel like I was accepted in that world, I got into doing hair when I was 15 years old. I stopped. I was working downtown doing a it was a summer program they had with the government here. It was a full-time kind of workforce development. And on my lunch break one day, I was downtown on Peachtree Underground, and I was walking past this salon called Beauty Center. And there was this lady standing outside. Her name was Dee Dee. And she had, remember that color 99J?
That purplish.
99. She had a 99J, which is, for those that don't know what that is, it's like a burgundy wine color hair. And she was standing outside. It was a quick weave. It was a bang. Had a very Cleopatra bang, long. She had a gold tooth. She was smoking her cigarette. And I knew she was a hairstylist. So I asked her, I said, "Do you do hair?" She was like, "Yeah." I said, "You need an assistant?" And she was like, "Actually, I do." And I started, I never went back. I went back to work for the rest of that day, but I never went back after. I started shampooing there, and I never left the beauty industry for 20 years after that. For 20 years after that. And then I would go to school. Once I got out of school, I would go down, catch a train, go downtown, work as an assistant, and kept doing that. And then I would start doing like my friends, my girlfriends and stuff had in school. And I started building my little clientele there, like with my classmates and all that type of stuff. And then from there, once I got done with high school, I called myself going to officially get trained and go to cosmetology school. But that didn't last but like a month, because I was like, I don't feel like doing this school thing. I don't like school. I'm over it. I went to Atlanta Tech, and I remember the day I got up and just left. I was like, I don't feel like it. I was always like ahead of my time, and I just got irritated sitting there, and I just left. And yeah, I built a clientele at a very early age, a successful clientele at a very early age. Then went, I built my own clientele, stopped doing my own clients, went back to being an assistant for someone else where I learned a more professional, more upper echelon way of approaching the industry. Then I went back to school thanks to one of my gay fathers who was like, you got to go get certified. You need to go and you got to get over that hump. And I went to Paul Mitchell and I finished Paul Mitchell in literally 11 months. And yeah, and everything just went from there. It was like, it was that last little bit of information that I needed from school. I already had the skill set, but I needed the foundation to really complete it, to be able to own the information. Because until you can teach something, you don't own it. And I needed that from school. I needed the actual language. I needed the theory. I needed all of those things. And that's what I got when I finally went back and got fully certified, licensed, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, everything just went. I became a six-figure hairstylist at the age of, I think, 23. Yeah, something like that.
So I want to ask you about something that you mentioned on why you went into hair. You said when you stopped music because you feel like you wasn't accepted in that world. Like what? So what was going on where you felt that wasn't a fit?
You know what it was? I was still trying to figure out who I was. I knew, excuse me, I knew that, you know, I was gay. I knew that I was very feminine, but I couldn't see myself in the field of arts, in the entertainment and arts arena as myself, because I had never seen anybody like me in that space. And so it felt very cold. And I think I was afraid of being alone, and I was afraid and shy of sharing all of me in that world. So I left. I left it, and that's when I got in the beauty industry. I became more explorative, and again, it was the beauty industry that gave me the freedom to own who I was. I then owned and accepted who I was in the beauty industry. I had an idea of who I was prior, but the beauty industry, which is so freeing and gives you so much space to create and play. That was when I was able to actually own and develop a real identification for who I was. And yeah, that's how that went.
Now, so you have a great clientele. Everything is going well for you at a young age. You know, you're making things happen. And then in comes a client, Sheree Whitfield, and you're doing her, and then she gets on this show, and then now you end up on television.
Yes, literally. You know what's so funny? My clients, you know who was my first like celebrity client, if you will, was Kenya Moore, actually. So this was like before I started doing Sheree. I met Sheree from just being a shopaholic here. She used to own a store called Bella Azul in Midtown. I used to shop there. And she had never seen nothing like it. Honey, to come in there, and she thought I was a stylist because I was buying all these women's clothes, and she thought I was buying them for people. And then one day I was like, I need a dressing room, and she was gagging, and we became friends that way. And then once she got offered, fast forward, and once she got offered to do Housewives, and it was developing Housewives of Atlanta, she asked me, you know, do you want to come on the show? We're doing this thing that they're trying to do, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, cool. You know, it's whatever. I mean, I'm just doing me. I'm a hairstylist. I'll do it. You know, because she wasn't a client at first. We were just good friends.
Gotcha.
And I started doing her hair for Housewives, and so that's how that started.
So now you're kind of who you are as a person is now being where you've been in your safe space of Atlanta. Now you're being thrown out to millions of people, and we are salacious characters with, if you would say, you know, especially back then, 10 years ago. How was that being thrown into a forefront of things? How was that for you? because it's like now open up a whole nother door.
You know what? I was already very popular here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you know, it wasn't too many places that I would go, and the people that know who I was, you know, prior to that, you know, we had the Bronner Brothers thing, the hair battles, you had all that kind of stuff. I had one of the largest clienteles in the city, so I was already very, very popular. I was already used to attention just by me just being who I am, being out and about with the shit on, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't no different to me when I got on television. Only thing it did was when I went to other cities, people, you know, knew more of me or knew more, about me or whatever. So it didn't nothing really, it didn't change that much. I think the exposure got much broader, but yeah, that was it. It didn't take much adjusting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, I was already that girl, so that didn't really. But I will say that, you know, you were there from season 1. I came in on season 2. And to us, men wearing heels and bags and women clothes was just a normality. But then to the world, we were like some type of alien that came out the sky that black. I'm like, what is the problem here? So did you start getting backlash or from being who you were on television?
I always got backlash. I got that shit when I was little and was walking around with lip gloss and shit. So it wasn't new. That's what I'm saying. And none of it was new.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like anybody that had anything to say in a comment or in a DM or whatever was popular back then, I could not be affected by it. There is no name I've never been called. I've just none of it. Yeah. You know, it's who I am, who you are, people like us, people are still having to adjust to, which is sad, but it's the reality. Mm-hmm. And what I am proud of for people like us who were brave enough to accept the position and the platform. And I say accept on purpose because it was brought to me and I accepted it. I didn't go after it. I accepted it because it all came to me. I pride myself and I'm proud that I stood in it. You know what I mean? And I did not let the critics and people that just don't understand are just very ignorant to differences of people. I didn't let that affect me and cause me to go and, you know, run away from it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I definitely had some walls that I built to protect myself, and that was out of defense that I later had to learn to let go, so that I could become more of a people's person, be a little bit more, you know, interactive with people. But eventually, that, you know, I came around in that area, and things opened up even more. So I'm glad I never let people and their opinions of me, about me, or their ignorance to my type of lifestyle, my type of gender expression bother me, because if I had, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation.
That's true. So your love of women clothes and women's shoes and bags and things of that nature, where do you think that all that came from?
I don't know if it's necessarily a love for it. It's just that's what I felt like I belonged in. That's where it's not just women's clothing. It's just that it's handbags. I'm always attracted to nice things. I'm attracted to what feels good. I think that's also a part of a person's individual artistry. How they, you know what I'm saying? Like, what am I drawn to? What am I attracted to? I have men's, you know, clothes that are, you know, typically worn by men, but it's just all about personal style, and it's about what you consider fashion that I like. And it just so happens that I tend to lean more to things that have been normalized for the women's culture. You know what I mean? But it's not just that, oh, I only am going to love women's clothes and handbags. I'm going to love a handbag that may cost $5,000 or $6,000 because I like the structure of it. I like the quality of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the power that it makes you feel at the, you know what I'm saying, at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's a lot of things that go into being fashion flexible. It's not just the
Mm-hmm.
idea that, oh, I want to wear women's clothes. No, it's just that's just what I like, and that's what I went and got. But I will also put on I don't know a Balmain blazer that's cut for a man. That you know what I mean? It's just it's just if I like it, I'm getting it.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you get to, because I always get the thing about when they people see me, they like, so why don't you just become a woman? Or why don't you do drag? Or why don't you be a transsexual? Like, do you get those type of questions, and how do you react to those questions?
Oh yeah, I've definitely gotten them. I don't answer them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't answer them. Some of them I will answer, but those are only, I will only answer it if I know it's coming from a genuine space, and it depends on who it's coming from. But a random stranger asking me questions like that, I pay absolutely no attention to. Now, if it's somebody like if my mom or somebody that I would ask me that back in the day, I don't want to be a woman. I don't have a desire to be a woman. You know, I don't desire to transition. I don't have that desire. That's how I'm very comfortable being exactly this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're both in this judge of Real Housewives of Atlanta, moving from season to season to season. And for you guys that I know y'all, a lot of people just automatically assume that me and you were friends back going through that. And it was like we shot all these scenes and we never even seen each other. Like we knew who each other were, but we didn't work together. So we really didn't have our first time together was when it was Hairstylist Tell All. And we got to sit down and like when we get to work together as a group. And I would tell you going into that because back then you weren't as social as you are now, and we didn't get to know each other. I really went to that space like, oh shit, this bitch gonna try me. I gotta be prepared. I gotta get my mind right. And it's just, and I had this preconceived notion of who you were. But we went into that space and we had an amazing time. We had and I was like,
and the ratings, okay,
with nothing.
Yeah, it was yeah. The ratings were everything. The ratings was tell all.
Yeah, it was a tell all, and we had with nothing, y'all. Like with no promo, no nothing. It was just like, here you go, this show about to come on. It was like bam. But we had such a good time. And I was like, oh shit. Once again, wishing that I had that thought process that you had, but I had people in my ear telling me, oh child, that's Lawrence, honey. That's Lawrence. Girl, you better watch out. You better watch out. And I get that, I'm like, what are you talking about?
You don't even know me.
Right. but all those, that was that. But so when did you acquire the Miss Lawrence? Because I know for the longest you were just Lawrence ATL, you know, and then Miss Lawrence. So when did Miss Lawrence come about?
No, that Miss Lawrence, I've been Miss Lawrence since the salon days. Like,
okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, like since the salon days, I've always been. My clients start calling me Miss Lawrence first. Like a lot of my friends start calling me Miss Lawrence first because of, you know, just me being so, you know, feminine. You know, it was just Miss Lawrence. You know, and I just took that on. Even when I got on Housewives, Sheree would call me Miss Lawrence, you know, and so that's how the cast started calling me Miss Lawrence, and then that's how the fans started to know me as Miss Lawrence, and that it just, you know, that's it. It just took on a Miss Lawrence. The name just took on a life of its own. Yeah, and I took it and, you know, I ran with it. I own the name. I got the certificates in right back there, that draw and everything, you know.
You better do the business first.
Alert.
Now, I know, so with us, like you said, it was brought to us being on television. It wasn't nothing we were really going after. But did you know what you were doing? Meaning, did you know the impact that you would have later on down the line, just being who you were?
I did not, but I am glad about the impact that I had, and I didn't realize it until I remember a young man coming up to me, a young guy. He was a young black gay boy coming up to me and telling me that he never understood himself, and he didn't have a circle of people that understood him, and that he was so happy that he was able to see me on television because it gave him hope and something to look forward to for him growing into himself and growing up and experiencing the world. And he was very, very gracious. And in that moment, and in that right there, in that moment, I was like, wow, I am actually really doing some shit. In my mind, prior, I was just, I'm just doing me, But yeah, I learned then that it was impactful, that I'm having an impact on people.
Yeah. Now, Housewives, we had a great run on Housewives, but it was time we grew out of that space. I know you grew out the space of Housewives, and we had an opportunity to do a little show called Fashion Queens.
Yeah, yeah.
With you, Bevy Smith, and myself, and in that space, once again, we were an opportunity that was given to us that we didn't really know the impact that we were going to have in that space. So how was the experience of Fashion Queens for you?
It changed my life completely. And I was prepared, but I wasn't ready. So when I say I wasn't ready, that's just slang for I had no idea what was coming. Had it not been for Fashion Queens, I wouldn't have landed Empire. I wouldn't have landed Star. I wouldn't have landed anything that came after Fashion Queens. I wouldn't have built the relationships that I have with Bevy. You and I wouldn't have garnered a more stronger relationship had it not been for Fashion Queens. I wouldn't have understood the structure of television, the structure of production being what you call first talent or principal talent. On Housewives, I was, just a B character and always tokenized. So it was Fashion Queens enlightened me to a whole new sphere of entertainment and talent.
So can I be? We never had this conversation. Can I be honest with you? So Fashion Queens, I would say for me was one of the best and one of the worst experiences of my life. And this is why. It was one of the best experiences because I got to learn so much. Like I learned so much from you. I learned so much from Bevy. But then it was the work experience because I also learned so much. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about how I have to function with people now. And being with you on a regular basis and seeing how you maneuver and seeing how you just the unbotheredness, I was just like, why can't I be like this? Like, I would ask you about stuff. You'd be like, child, please. And I'm like, wait, no, girl, I need to, like, I think it's for me. You'd be like, yeah, girl, you know how she is, girl, so just keep it moving. I'm like, no, that's not how it's supposed to go. But you also taught me about knowing your worth.
Yes.
Because one thing, now I didn't always agree how y'all said things, but y'all did know y'all worth as people, both you and Bevy. And y'all knew what y'all wanted, y'all knew what y'all was standing for. And I think that for me, I didn't really know what I was standing for. I was just in the space, but I was in the space, but I was moving within y'all space.
Okay.
And so it took a lot for me to learn, which I'm very thankful for y'all, because when Fashion Queen stopped, I had to take time and say, you know what? You need to get your shit together. Like, you got to get yourself together mentally and physically. So I just wanted to tell you thank you because I never did, but I learned so much just from you as in building myself up to be a better person. So just wanted to say that. Yes.
I think you where you I think you were just more comfortable and extremely strong in what you were most used to and comfortable with, which was in the beauty industry, because you knew your worth there.
Mm-hmm.
You know your worth there. One thing Derek J could do is go out and get a goddamn job. And I'm talking about anywhere when it came to the beauty industry. And I think that probably because, you know, you were kind of, we both were kind of just kind of, I guess, thrown into that, you know, the whole fashion queens thing, or in entertainment or whatever. You probably, you know, you didn't adjust as fast, so
Mm-hmm.
it made you question your worth there. I don't know, that's just what I'm thinking, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah, that, you know, I'm glad I was able to, you know,
Yeah,
help
because y'all would say y'all did not play, honey. I was like,
you.
Jesus. I was like, these girls are mean. but what but living in it and now understanding it, I then now understood why you have to be that way, why you have to stand up for this places that you were in, and why just why. I understood the why behind it all. Um,
Yeah.
so yes. But so now, so if with it, so fashion queens, y'all, let me just so everybody, and let me just set this all clear, and Bevy is on here too. Everybody asked us, why did the show end? Why did the show end? Why did the show? Hell, we don't know. We thought we were doing great. we
We
were,
were doing that. Be clear.
oh no, we were doing
We
good.
were doing great.
We were doing great. And we
I
were
talked
getting
about
ready.
this. I talked about this earlier. We had a show, 3 Black people, 3 very self-aware people, that came on Sunday nights at 11:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
That would hit 1 million viewers, no less than 800,000 viewers
Mm-hmm.
every week, which is unheard of for a show to come on that late at
Mm-hmm.
night on a Sunday when Monday morning is following and people got to get up and go to work. So numbers don't lie. The talent, the numbers was a reflection of the talent. So
Mm-hmm.
we were everything we needed to be, you know. So whatever happened with Fashion Queens and why the network chose not to move forward with it, it's beyond all of us, you
Yeah.
know. What I will say is Fashion Queens, maybe it was, you know, I think it served as protection, because Fashion Queens would not be able to exist today where we are, um, with society, and how everything is so socially sensitive right now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we would not be able to have the same banter that we do today as we did then, because it just would not be accepted. You know, the whole cancel culture grew within the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So with us being who we were, very witty, very honest about everything and our opinions, I think the cancel culture might have tried to get us anyway. So you know what I'm saying? I think, and you know, once you've been canceled by the culture,
Right.
that's hard to rebound from.
Uh-huh.
So maybe God set it up and said, no, y'all won't last through this next phase of society and what you know, how people look now, you know, with social sensitivity and all this kind of stuff. I don't think we would have lasted.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he protected us from that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so y'all, just so y'all all know, because we're all here, we were doing.
I can't see comments, by the way, because
Oh no, it's okay. He's on his phone. I see him. So y'all all know that we were all here. We were doing interviews for our next season. We went to upfronts. We were doing everything, and then we just got a phone call. The Blue was like, "Yeah." We were like, "Oh, okay." So
yeah, it definitely didn't make sense, and it did not feel good. But
no, it didn't.
But I thank God I had enough sense. I still had my business going. I still had my salon going, you know. So I was able to not really miss a beat. You know, it's the same thing for you. And of course, you know, Bevy is Bevy. Bevy go have a job, okay?
Right.
Bevy go out and have a speaking engagement for $50,000, honey. So you know, mother's fine.
Right.
You know, we had our businesses to fall back on, and yeah, you know, it was bittersweet No, it wasn't sweet. It was bitter, but
Mhm.
you know, we were good. You
Well,
know.
I would say the sweet part about it was that we gave black people we gave people that look like us the 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 thought that they can sit and talk about fashion. Because I never thought I could sit and talk about fashion. I know you sure never thought that you could sit like but we would be in that
No.
space. I know Bevy was already doing it, but but to have a full show where we talk about fashion, pop culture, where we were able to sit at I want you guys, I think y'all need to understand what went into the show of Fashion Queens. We were able to sit at a table and say, no, we're not gonna say that. No, this is not right. No, this doesn't represent the culture. No, we're not doing this. So to be able to sit at a table and be able to make the decision, they say, you know what, you are right. Even the day when they came, remember that day they set some watermelon on the table.
They brought that watermelon, and Baby walked into the room and said, "Who the fuck ordered watermelon?" He said, "What you will not do is bring watermelon into a room where there's black talent. That's what you won't do."
That watermelon was good though.
Oh, well, we fucked that watermelon up. But so again, that was a learning experience for me. I learned so much from Fashion Queens. It was things like that I learned. It was things that were considered, cultural appropriation that would not be accepted. What to say, what not to say, what could be, politically incorrect. All that stuff I learned from Fashion Queens. It allowed me and enabled me to really learn how to edit myself, but without being fake. Which is a very fine line to be edited, but also be authentic.
Yeah. So let's talk about the power of relationships, because did you premiere on Star during Fashion Queens, or that was after we got done with Fashion Queens?
No, that was Empire and Fashion Queens.
Empire. I was going to say, yeah, Empire. So the power of relationships. So I remember the day that Lawrence could do impressions about anybody, y'all. He could do everybody. So he decides to pick a scene out of Empire and do everybody in the scene. And in that space, Bevy decides to record Lawrence doing his
I was doing Cookie Lyons and Jamal, who was played by Justice Smollett.
Yeah, and so then Bevy records it and then sends it to Lee Daniels, because she's just thinking like, look at this is funny. Look at Lawrence doing this thing. And who would have known that it would have turned into an opportunity for you to be on Empire? So talk to me about your experience having the opportunity on Empire.
Oh, it's even now it's still very dreamy. Again, that's another moment where I was just being who I was, you know what I'm saying? Minding my business. I love impersonating people from time to time and, joking around with it. And so I was honoring what I felt at the moment. And it turned into me being on Empire, laying on a piano, sliding down a piano, singing a song by Sylvester, who I've always loved musically, especially, and as an artist, and just him owning who he was. And that experience, that is one for the books, learning, because I had never done scripted television. I had never been on a television like set of that magnitude, where there's actually catering and craft service. There is our entire ginormous wardrobe department, not a wardrobe rack, but a department that's like the size of 3 of my apartments put together. You know what I'm saying? And so that experience, it's one for the books. It definitely it was definitely one that I was able to extract from and grow with, that prepared me for Star.
So now let's talk about Star. So now you had that experience on Empire, and then now the opportunity of Star comes up, and you get the role. And so first of all, how is it getting that call saying you booked this?
I got the phone call. The lead Angus called me directly, and he told me he was working on a new project, and he had an idea for a character that he thought that I would be able to deliver based on my performance on Empire. And he went over the concept and a brief description of the character, and he told me that I had to audition this time. Because it was, Fox was not going to have me on as an actual character and not audition. And so I got dressed and up in what I thought my character Miss Bruce would look like. Miss Bruce was not glamorous. Miss Bruce was not like my type of fab, but fab in her own right. And I had to find. She was banty, she was ratchet, and Lee was very clear that was what he wanted. And and so I found that art. I had my own idea of what Miss Bruce looked like. Then I went to my audition, and yeah, I nailed it. And I remember at my audition him telling me, this is when I learned that Amaya Scott was Cotton, because in my audition he's like, oh my God, this is gonna be so good. He's like, and you, Miss Bruce, and Cotton is gonna have an interesting relationship. He said Cotton is played by a trans girl. He said, do you know Amaya Scott? I was like, that's my sister. I was like, oh my gosh. I called Amaya when I got in the car after my audition. And she said, what's going on, sis? I said, hey, Cotton. And she just started screaming. She was like, wait, bitch, how you know? I said, bitch, I Miss Bruce. It was a magical moment. Miss Bruce was special to me, very, very special to me, because it was so many people that that Miss Bruce reminds me of, that I felt like story needed to be told. That story of the always witty, always funny, always the life of the party type of character, but also at the same time, the one that is a voice of reason, the one that you can bury all your secrets with, the one that's going to be ride or die, no holds barred. All the things that Miss Bruce was to Miss Carlotta, who was played by Queen Latifah, who Miss Bruce was to the girls, Take Three. All of those things I knew, and I could identify with Miss Bruce, because I have a lot of those qualities that I'm proud to say, and I know a lot of more people that look like me and act like me have the same thing, and is not afraid to confront life as themselves as a gender nonconformist. And I felt like I was doing our type of people justice by being Miss Bruce and playing Miss Bruce.
So also, I would say is that, so how did you maneuver the fine line of having Miss Bruce not become a caricature?
I try not to think about that. What I knew going into the show, and really, really adapting this character, not judging this character, because Miss Bruce was ratchet and not as well kept as somebody like myself. I knew that she was a real person, because I knew people like Miss Bruce. And so there was no way that I could think that Miss Bruce was a caricature, because Miss Bruce was real. There are real people, a lot of us that are like Miss Bruce. I have a lot of Miss Bruce in me. You know what I'm saying? So I knew Miss Bruce wasn't a character, and I know a lot of people might have thought that, but in reality, it's a lot of people like Miss Bruce, and I was very happy and honored to play Miss Bruce.
Now, how did you feel being able to, you're in this space. You're in this space with Queen Latifah and Pay the Bell and Luke James. So you're in this space with all of these talented people.
Yeah.
And you're like the newbie into this world. How was it being accepted by them and having the support of them and all that. How did that make you feel?
It felt really good. It felt really good to be affirmed by so many, I mean, huge talents like that. What I was clear of going into this thing was that a lot of people that might watch, a lot of people that we can work with sometimes, when they see somebody like myself, people tend to group us as this one-dimensional type of thing. As this one-dimensional thing, a Black, gay, feminine queen. Okay, here we go. Yes, So I knew that I had to show up with proper work ethics. I knew that I had to show up and be able to deliver. And doing that and owning what it was that I was doing and not being persuaded or thrown off by anything around me, I think that garnered a lot of respect from those huge names and even the people behind the scenes, the writers, the producers, the executive producers. I think that garnered a lot of respect. And I think it propelled my character and myself to become even bigger as the seasons went on. Yeah.
And when people have, because I fall into that a lot when I go into places, I go into an audition, and I'm not as sassy as people will think they're supposed to be, or where's that Miss Thing girlfriend that you have? I'm like, well, first of all, I never was that. Like, and when you watch the TV show, I wasn't that on the TV show. So where do y'all get this whole? They just create this whole character of you that don't even exist. Because we were like before you started acting, we were playing our real selves. We weren't playing other people. So it's like, where did y'all come up with this character that y'all?
You know what I think happened, and it's not their fault because media and television, period. If you can remember back with shows like In Living Color, with shows like when different artists and actors and stuff would play a Black gay man, it was typically always a funny one that was, flamboyant and over the top. So I think people thought that was all it was, that, it was just that, and I think that's where a lot of that stems from, just a false ideology of what it means to be Black, gay, and feminine, and it's going to take people to go and unlearn that idea and those, false constructs that we have on us. And I think playing against that, I think helps. Showing up saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually not that person. I'm sorry, you actually can't just come up to me and say, yes, bitch, and you don't even know me. Like, you know what I'm saying? You don't get to do that. And I think if you make that clear and apparent, then, slowly but surely the work will get done to where we're not compartmentalized,
So now Star ended, and then you had another big opportunity. So now you are, I don't know, I know it's the Billie Holiday story.
United States versus Billie Holiday, yeah.
United States versus Billie Holiday. So now you have another opportunity in the world of acting. Now, how was that experience? Because you were over in Canada, correct? Or where were you at?
I was in Montreal.
Montreal.
Yeah, in Canada, yeah. That was by far the hardest job I've had yet. It was not easy to get. I was up against some very powerful names in the industry for the role that I'm playing. And luckily, because I can be a crafty queen sometimes, honey, I got my little insides of who I was up against. And so, not that they persuaded what my performance was going to be like to audition, but it is kind of good to know what level playing field you're going into. And I had to work my ass off to get that job, like it was not easy. It wasn't easy. And I literally gave it 150%. But first I had to know that the job was mine. That was number one. I had to literally paint this picture and this map in my head, like, here's the character, here's the role, here I am. Now I just gotta get there because it's mine. I just gotta get there. So what can I do to make sure that I am really the only bitch that's gonna be noticed in this room for this character? That takes preparation. That took literally not talking to anybody for however many weeks I needed to prepare. That took me going to sleep knowing my lines, knowing what this role was, who this person was, so that I can literally take on that spirit and that person, so that when I showed up for my audition, I brought that person into the room from the beginning. I didn't walk in and say, when do I start? I walked in as that person. And I think it separated me from the other people that were auditioning or going out for the role. And they're super talented people, but I wanted the job.
So you said, and you went for it.
I wanted the job. Yeah. I wanted the job. Yeah. But that was some of the hardest work ever. Even once I got the role and I got over to Canada, I didn't know what to expect. I'd never done a movie before. This is my first movie, and it's a whole different type of game.
Movies.
It's a whole. And you worked on movie sets, so you know it's a whole nother. She wrote, honey. Oh my God, it was so rewarding. But I mean, I had to work for it. It took a lot of focusing, a lot of, it was some rough nights that I had to go to bed with because of what this movie is about, which is telling the story of racism and how it played an effect on Black artists and Black people back then, how the war on drugs was so planted and directed towards us, and who my character is, who is a gay character, and where my character belonged in the world in the 40s and the 50s. You know, it was really rough. It was really rough. My character, who is Miss Freddie, was Billie Holiday's dresser. He actually dressed her, and he was a real person that she wrote about in her journals and things like that, and that, you know, they collected after she passed. But he put her in her gowns and all that kind of stuff. They were extremely close. They did all kinds of party favors together, and she protected him. He protected her in a lot of situations. Miss Freddie had a lot of bouts with law enforcement, drugs, you name it. And so in the 40s and the 50s, to really be authentic and walk in your own truth and purpose as a Miss Freddie, like we can so freely do now. But back then, it was unheard of. But that bitch was brave. She was very bold, and she could tackle the world by herself. And I mean, I had to take all of that on. You know, it was rough. It was really rough to be able so that people can really get the real essence. You know, I had to really take on who Miss Freddie was, who was a fucking genius and remarkable. Yeah, and it's sad that you never heard about Miss Freddie. You can't find pictures of Miss Freddie or anything. You only knew she existed because of the people that were in her circle and from what she wrote about Miss Freddie, which lets you know what that time frame in life was like. You were not allowed to exist. Basically, you weren't allowed to exist. Nobody wanted to see what you looked like. Nobody wanted to know of you. And that within itself was extremely important for me to know going into this role, so that I could continue to break the boundaries of what Miss Freddie tried to start during her life. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to a little bit. I'm gonna get a little bit nosy for a second. Okay. So you're now at a young age. You were making good money. You're now in the public eye. You're still making good money. How is dating for you in this space? because trying to find somebody or be somebody long term or just anything, just trying to do any of that in that space. How did that work for you?
I was in a relationship for probably about 6 years. It's been a long time since we were together, but I'm not interested. I mean, I have friends that I'll go out with or play with, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. But I'm not interested. I'm so focused and hungry for what I can build for myself, and I'm never looking for a partner. I'm not looking to date. I'm not interested in trying to make that like, oh, this is what life is supposed to be. You're supposed to date. You're supposed to have a partner. No, I feel like if I, doing what I am called to do and use all of my talents, use everything and just lead with love and everything, like that person, if it's ordained, they'll find their way to me. You know what I mean? And I will know. What I do pray for is that, God, if there's somebody you want in my life in that way, reveal them to me. And I trust him because he's always delivered. So I know that that's going to happen. And that ain't happened yet. So I'm not interested. I don't really care about the dating thing. If it happens, it happens. If not, that's fine too. I have no lack. I have no lack.
And I'm glad you said prayer, because I meant to ask you this earlier on. Did you ever struggle with religion and being gay?
No, I didn't, because it's something that I felt very, very early. Thank God for my mom for teaching me like how to pray and teaching me the power of God and how important he is and how he is the ultimate architect of life. Of our lives personally. And I didn't struggle with religion. I did struggle with people that were called called as prophets. I did become kind of taken back by some pastors and some churches, when I was younger. Like, I stopped going to church for a very, very, very long time. I didn't really want any parts of it, but I never lost touch with church that was in me. You know what I mean? I never lost, like, God has never left me and I've never left him. So I never struggled with religion. I struggled with sometimes the messengers. Yeah, I struggle sometimes with the messengers, but never the message.
And then with relationships in general, as you start becoming more popular and more known, people start coming out the woodworks and just trying to keep your space. How did you do that going into it? Because there's always somebody coming out when you want to have a new friend, or you see somebody wants to be your friend, or somebody is trying to talk to you, but they have their own other reasons why, or just people trying to get close to you. So how did you keep that space sacred for you?
Discernment. I swear, you got to pray for it. You got to ask for it. You got to ask for clarity on people, clarity on everything. And I don't know. It's like magic. I know when somebody is right for me and when they're not. I see through bullshit so fast and so easy. And I am not here for the shit. I am not here for the shit, honey. You know what I mean? I will be nice. I'll be friendly and all of that. But it's only going to go so far if I get one small sense that you ain't right. And I'll chop it real easy.
So during this quarantine, you had some time to create and make some magic happen.
Yeah.
And just was it Friday?
Friday.
You released your single?
Yes.
On the 15th, you released Say Her Name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did this come about? Where did this come from? How did this happen?
Again, mastering relationships, honing relationships. I wrote Say Her Name last year, and I wrote it last year. I recorded it last year. I worked with some incredible people, Anita Wilson and Rick Robinson. They were the producers there. Anita Wilson is a gospel artist. And I'd met them. Anita actually was a client of mine that by way of my friend Roland Jack, who manages Lettucey. And we met just in New York one day. Roland and I met in New York one day, I think at the Pink Teacup at the restaurant one day, and just we became friends and we're friends ever since. And it's just a very real, authentic friendship, you know. And from that, I met Anita, and we formed a relationship. And then when she would come to Atlanta, and she lived here for a small period of time, she came to me to get her hair done several times, and I'd be in the salon singing. You know, I always sang. I sang everywhere. You know that. We worked on fashion. I just sang. That's all I do is sit up and sing everywhere. And she told me she was like, "You need to do. Why you need to sing? You need to do something with that. We need to figure something out." I was like, "Yeah, I want to. It's easier said than done." She was like, "When you're ready, let me know." And fast forwarding, we ran into each other at Essence Festival a couple of years ago. Well, we were all at Essence Festival a couple of years ago, and I remember we went to the movies to go see the Whitney Houston documentary film that came out. And afterwards, we talked, and I was like, "I think I want to do something. I think I want to go ahead and do some music." She was like, "Well, let's do it." She said, "You got to come to Chicago." I was like, "I'll come. That's fine." And I wrote. I went to Chicago. We recorded, and I sat on it after we had finished, and because I just didn't know the right time. I didn't know when the right time was to release Say Her Name. And when this pandemic struck, and I didn't have anything but free time to sit here with myself and really examine everything about me, I learned that I wasn't doing enough, or I felt like I wasn't doing enough, and that I was just sitting on stuff that God had given me that I needed to get out. And so one of the things that really put the icing on the cake is when I learned that the impact that women were having on this pandemic, and from the nurses, which is a predominantly women-led industry in the medical field, rather, with nurses, and the women leaders of other countries where they had fewer corona cases, and how they were handling things. I was like, baby, it ain't nothing like the power of a woman, honey. It ain't nothing like a mother's prayer. It ain't, and I'm like, I need to really Say Her Name, because I wrote Say Her Name with the idea of the women's culture in mind, and not just women, but people of the women's culture, of women's influence. So that is every type of woman. That is a man, that is a woman that gets something from women. I don't think there is a culture that can exist without women. And so I had that in mind when I thought of Say Her Name, and I started thinking of all of the iconic women that put themselves on hold and on the line for people that look like me, people that look like you, women that put themselves on hold for their families, whether they are the head of households, whether they are mothers of ballroom houses, whether they are mothers of various of gay children, whether they are not mothers and they are just leaders in their communities, whether they, whatever, every type of woman, I started thinking about, and I realized that I would not be able to be who I am and exist comfortably without the influence of the woman's culture. And so that's how I came up with Say Her Name. And so I said, well, I think this is the perfect time to just let it out. And I did it. I made a few phone calls to get some type of visual something done, some photo or whatever. And I got my little ring lights here. One of my friends came over, and with the camera, we were socially distant. I have a nice size place, so they had to wear a mask. You couldn't come here without no mask. You could not wear your shoes. You had to change your clothes when you come in, all of that kind of stuff. So we were very extremely careful, and we literally shot my photo here in my place, and I put it out. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm an independent artist. And I just figured it out. I made some phone calls to some of my music industry friends, and I'm like, how do I get a song out like on the iTunes and all this kind of stuff? Because any music that I've done prior, I had literally no control of it. It wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned everything from scratch. Every single thing. I own my song. I own the publishing. I have my own publishing company. You know, everything. I literally set up from my bedroom on my iPad. And yeah, I don't have any PR people or nothing like that right now. I just have an incredible, close-knit group of friends that have supported me. All of you all have supported me. Everybody that's posted, that's commented, that's, you know, that's allowed me to come on a platform such as yours to talk and promote, Say Her Name. That's what has happened. And I honestly, it's only been a week, and I didn't even expect this much attention from it so soon. But what I will say is that Thursday night, before, I think it was like 11:30 at midnight, the song was released, and I prayed. I came here in the living room and I got on my knees and I prayed, and I said, Lord, take this project, take this, and let it be of ministry to whoever needs it. You know what the intentions are from it when we wrote it, when we recorded it. You know the intentions of everybody that worked on it, and he knows that the intentions were pure, and he knows where they came from. And I just ask that he use it and let it be of message and of good use. And I released it and let it go. So it no longer belongs to me. I just have to continue the ushering of it. But you know, it's out there. And so far, so good.
Well, I mean, everybody asks, can you give them a piece of it, child?
A piece of let's see, what part do I want to do? They can never bring you down. You will always be around. I want to hear the song. I need to hear it again. Most people, when I do the interview, they play the song and I'm like, okay, yeah. But
child, well, then let me get it together, child. Hold on. I'm sorry, I want prepared, child. Give me a second.
I want either. I've been prepared all day. Did I sat back there, laid down, child, and got comfortable,
drinking your wine and everything? So wait, now I do hear this. So I hear this gospel feel to it.
Oh, yeah, God is in everything. I'm gonna make sure that God is in me, honey. God is in his voice. He gave me his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they can never bring you down.
You better sing.
Yeah.
I can't sing, y'all. So I would have joined in, but I can't do I can't do that. Well, you know, so
we all got our thing.
So my last question for you is, when you look in the mirror and say, I love Miss Lawrence, from a scale to 1 to 100, how assured are you? 1 being the worst, 100 being the best. How assured are you when you say you love who you are?
10, 100%. You know why? Because loving yourself is not just loving all the good things about you. Loving yourself is also loving your flaws. Mm-hmm. I'm very flawed. We all are. And I love those things about me as well, because those flaws play a part in me being able to be who I am. So I love every bit of it. There are some things that I want to work on, but I love that as well, because I love to work and I love to do the work. That's what makes us individuals. That's what makes us, you know, special spirits in this world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Being different, being flawed, and loving it and owning it is what makes a difference. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So we can find Say Her Name on all platforms, correct?
It's everywhere. Yeah.
You say it's everywhere, huh? All you gotta do is go to where. Did you type in Miss Lawrence?
YouTube, SoundCloud, it's everywhere. Tidal, I think, yeah.
So they can type in Miss Lawrence, or you can type in Say Her Name.
Type in Miss Lawrence, Say Her Name.
Mm-hmm. So make sure Make sure y'all go download it, support Miss Lawrence and her calls and what she got going on. And I'm honored and happy you were able to be here. I'm honored and happy that we've got to know each other and got to know each other better.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy the time that we do get. We don't get to see each other as much, but when we do,
Right.
when we do get together, baby, we have a good damn time.
We have a good time, honey. You know how we like to cut up, child.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Everybody ain't privy to that though.
No,
See, you
no,
know what I'm saying? I
know.
guard my space.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna drop you down for a second, but stay right there, okay?
Okay, babe.
Oh, I'm so happy that I was able to have a chance to have that conversation with Lawrence and let him know, one, how I appreciate him, how I feel about him, and then two, how he's affecting me in my life, and all the great things that he's accomplishing right now. Once again, if you guys have not downloaded this yet, go download Miss Lawrence, say her name, and listen to her, party to her, and all that good stuff. Thank you guys once again for being with me for another week. Next week, I don't know who I'm gonna have next week, but I'm working on. I got a couple of people in the sauce, and but I'm excited to with this new venture that I'm on and having these new conversations. And I'm glad that you guys are here with me, having it with me. So I will see you guys next week. Oh, I will be here. So next week, Wednesday, you guys in YouTube land and Facebook land, we are doing for the Gay Like Me conversations, because Wednesday is the last Wednesday of the month of mental awareness month. We are doing a conversation about mental health. So if you are in the LGBTQ community of color and you want to talk about mental health, this is the email address right here. Boom. Right there, bam. GLM Convo. And we're going to be talking about mental health. So please be here next week, Wednesday, for our mental health conversation. And next week, Thursday, for a new Gay Like Me Live with the guest who I don't know yet. But once again, thank you guys. And y'all have a good night.